Week 23 of the 2023-24 NBA season is over, which means it's time to run it back. This is Running Back NBA Week in Review, Los Angeles Clippers edition. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thePeachBasket.net, and formerly the featured columnist covering the Clippers for Bleacher Report. This is the show where we recap the week that was for the Los Angeles Clippers and then highlight their marquee matchup for the week to come. We start like we always do by taking a look at where the team lands in the thePeachBasket's objective power rankings this week. The Clippers finished the week at 2-2, exactly as I predicted, which is kind of cool. In fact, I was able to get the wins and losses right for each team. It was just a little hiccup, but overall, a pretty good week when it comes to predictions. The only mistake was that I thought the Clippers would beat the Sixers at home and lose on the road. They did it the other way around. But regardless, again, good week for the Clippers, more or less, and a good week for us predicting the Clippers week. The Clippers started the week by losing to the Sixers at home, 121-107. Then they lost to the Pacers, 133-116. It was after that loss, and keep in mind, I mean, these were two losses at home to two good, but not necessarily great Eastern Conference teams, that people started to panic. And man, I get it. It's an understandable panic. The Clippers look like two different teams. You never know which one's going to show up. The team that dominated before the All-Star break, or the team that's been, not great at times after the All-Star break. But like I've always said, the best remedy to panic is winning. And honestly, the best remedy to anything in professional sports is winning. Winning just fixes everything. So the Clippers, knowing that, understanding that, went out and beat the Sixers in Philadelphia in a wild game, 108 to 107. And then in a close battle, they beat the Orlando Magic 100-97. That 2-2 week was enough to keep them at number 4 in the thePeachBasket's objective power rankings for the 9th week in a row. Overall, they hold steady at the number 5 spot. Seems to me that that's probably where they're going to end things. In the objective power rankings, as well as their standings in the West. But we'll see. The Pelicans are coming on strong. And so are the Dallas Mavericks, actually. Top performers. Let's take a look now at the best to do it in key categories for the Clippers in week number 23. Now, with the season winding down and the team preparing for the playoffs, we're starting to see the same names pop up across all key categories. Instead of doing these by category like we've done before, we're going to do it by player. And this kind of makes sense, right? You're kind of limiting your bench. You're trying to get ready for the playoffs. So we're seeing, the same names pop up over and over again. One key name is Kawhi Leonard. Let's take a look at what he led the Clippers in week number 23. Kawhi led the team with 23 points per game. He was a top shooter, averaging 9.3 field goals made. And he was also the top defensive rebounder, pulling down 5.5 boards, sharing that rebounding honor with Ivica Zubac. But Kawhi wasn't quite done. He also led the team in blocks with 1.5, again joined in that category by Big Zoo. And he also led the team in game score with kind of an underwhelming 18.8 in his 4 games played. Paul George was the best sniper, averaging 3 3-point field goals made over his 4 games played. Ivica Zubac was the top overall rebounder, pulling down 8.5 rebounds for his 4 games played, rather. He was also the top offensive rebounder, grabbing 3 on average in week number 23. James Harden, once again, the top assist man for the Clippers, averaging almost 9.8 assists over his 4 games played. Harden also led the team in steals, averaging 2 in week number 23. Now, week 24, as we look ahead, is a continuation of the road trip that the Clippers have gotten off to a pretty good start on. They're 2-0. The week starts on the road in Charlotte against the Hornets. Then the team travels back west to take on the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento. The week ends at home against the world champion Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz. The Jazz are a team that looks to be giving up on the season. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. I've been pretty lucky, right, this week, or the last couple of weeks, predicting Clippers wins and losses. So let's hope it keeps up, because I see a good week in week number 24 for the Clippers. The easiest game of the week is to predict, is the Charlotte Hornets game. That's an 18-win team. They should not put up much of a battle, but listen, this is the NBA. You're playing them on their home court. You're getting to the point now where, there's nothing nothing to play for, but the dignity of the game, and teams take a lot of pleasure in kind of messing up teams' playoff seeding. So I don't necessarily anticipate it being an easy win, but I do see it as a win for the Clippers. Traveling to Sacramento and taking on the Kings, that's going to be a little bit tougher. At this point in the trip, the Clippers would have been 3-0, right? Assuming they beat the Hornets. And I do see them taking the loss in Sacramento's home court. The Thursday game against the Denver Nuggets, that's going to be at home, and it gives the Clippers an opportunity to tie the season series against the Nuggets at 2-2. Now, the first game after a road trip at home, it's often a trap game, but man, this game's important. You want to send a message to the NBA. You want to send a message to the Nuggets. This has got to be a playoff atmosphere game, and it's got to be a game that the Clippers take to the Nuggets. I see them getting that win at home against the world champs. They close the week out against the Utah Jazz. Again, this is a team that has not been performing well of late. They seem to have given up on the season. I see the Clippers beating the Jazz to finish the week at 3-1. All right. We end like we always do by taking a look at what people are saying about the Clippers. Now, usually I like to take a look at something that's a little kind of, off radar, something that you might have missed. But the big news right now for the Clippers is about extending Paul George. Kawhi is ready. He's going to be there at Intuit when it opens. Will PG join him? Well, for that information, we go to an article on Bleacher Report written by Eric Pincus. Will the Los Angeles Clippers extend Paul George with Philadelphia 76ers looming, right? There's a lot of rumbling about the Sixers wanting to bring in PG. Obviously, he'd be a great fit alongside Embiid and whatever else they can build around that squad. So Eric goes on to kind of present what Philly could offer, right? A possible offer of $212.2 million with over 4 years. That's the max, which is pretty close to what the Clippers could offer. They'd have to maneuver a couple of things. They'd have to wait on extending Maxey. There's some things that would have to change in Philadelphia to make that happen, but that is what Philly could offer. The Clippers could offer $221.1 million with a 4-year max contract. Or, right, PG could do what Kawhi did and take a little bit less on a 3-year deal. Kawhi took about $7 million less. What's going to happen? Eric goes on to say that the safe money is on PG staying in Los Angeles. And I kind of see that happening. I think a lot of it has to do with how well the Clippers perform in the playoffs, right? I mean, that's kind of key. But with Kawhi being in the fold, and listen, we can't overlook the James Harden impact here. He was just in Philadelphia, Harden was, and he made a point of saying, "Listen, I'm not good with Morley. Morey rather. I'm not going to talk to him. I don't want to discuss him." He clearly has made his decision on what he thinks about that Philadelphia 76ers executive. And this is the same executive who's got, potentially maybe a year or has got Paul George's year. I can't help but think that PG and Harden are going to talk about that. So that James Harden impact is important. So it's because of that, and because, PG is an LA guy, and because they've had great success here in LA. They didn't win it all, undeniably. Now they might this year, who knows? But they didn't have the kind of success, right, that they had anticipated having when PG and Kawhi took the podium several years back. But I think Paul George, right now, if I'm a betting man, I think it's 60-40. He stays in LA, in part because he's an LA guy, because Kawhi will be there, the core team will be there. And also in part because, James Harden is in his other year, right? Talking to him about what life in Philly might be like. So I do anticipate that happening, but I do think the way this season plays out for the Clippers is going to be really important in that decision. Listen, we were saying on Twitter not too long ago, I could see the Clippers bowing out in the first round. I could, right? To the Pelicans. They've not had great success against the Pelicans. That's very likely who they're going to play. Or a really hot Mavericks team. They play the Mavericks a little bit better, but I could see them losing in the first round. Nobody'd be surprised. But I could also see them winning that round, the second round, going on to the Western Conference Finals, even to the finals. I could see it happening. But that's what this team is right now. Yeah, it's just a crapshoot. We just don't know. So will the Clippers extend him? I think it's a safe bet, but I wouldn't put any money on it. That's it. Week 23 of the Clippers 2023-24 NBA season is in the books. Join us again next week after week number 24 when we once again run it back.